They tryna turn Trenton into Baby Flint. Been signs by depression on the billboards ever since. 100 years ago we was lynched. Now they use germ warfare to kill us. I'm convinced, got the evidence. I look around and it's evident. Then go down to City Hall and see so much negligence. Real art is intelligent. A true artist sends messages that speak to your intelligence. They fought and died so I can do my thing. Not to get drunk and high or join no gang. I will not let none of you die in vain. For my people I bang, bang, bang. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. They say post-traumatic slavery disorder's fake, but I just tell them all to wake up. Everything we went through, what a way down a rape, bro. It's in our genetic makeup. So I am my ancestors from block to block. Let's build like it's Tetris. We must unite, link up like a necklace. They fought and died and we disrespected. So I come to correct it. The legacy they left I protected. We only think about self and neglected. You're African but yet you rejected. No. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. I do. I go.
What's going on, everybody? Peace, peace, peace. How's everyone doing on this Monday? Good Monday evening, afternoon, and maybe good morning to some who are listening in. This is the Eco Beloved On Point Weather Report, aka Brother Bilal, aka Imam Bilal Hassan, for those who don't know. Thank you all for tuning in tonight for another update on this incoming winter storm, snowstorm in a pandemic. I ask that you all let us know where you're coming from, where you're tuned in from, what's your city, what's your town. Send us your city, send us your town, send us your greetings, and we'll bring you up to the screen so you can be acknowledged. And we can have a conversation this evening in reference to the events that will be taking place within the next very quickly within the next 36 hours, 36 to 40 hours. This will be a very quick moving storm, but it will have drastic impacts to a lot of people. We're talking about millions, perhaps hundreds of millions of people, especially when we're talking about the big cities, which we're talking about today along Interstate 95, that's DC to Boston, and points in between that. So the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast and New England region. And we're going to be having a detailed discussion. I'm asking you all also to please feel free to submit any questions and comments in the comment section below. Let us know if you have any questions and any comments, and we can pull them up on the screen. We can answer them tonight. Okay. And again, thank you all for tuning in. So this winter storm that we have approaching us now is on the brink. Just made landfall. Last night we talked about the storm system was not here. It was still out in the Pacific Ocean. Now that storm system with that energy has now made its way into the lower 48, and is currently out in the southwest of the West Coast, southwest region over there, in the Four Corners, and around Albuquerque in New Mexico. And within the next 24, 36 hours, that storm system will make its quick traverse across the states, and eventually it will make its way and reform into a new low off the coast of the Tidewater, Virginia, and etc. I do want to say that the winter storm is named Gale, Winter Storm Gale. Now, this new way of naming winter storms is pretty new. Usually, we name hurricanes after we have the World Meteorological Society has a list of names, a name system that was developed, and the storms are given names, and after that list is exhausted, we move to the Greek alphabet, which is what happened this past hurricane season, which has officially ended, which is good because the hurricane season was very active, especially in places like Louisiana, which was hit numerous times by numerous storm systems around that Louisiana, Mississippi area, the Gulf Coast, which was pretty much battered throughout the season this year. So it was a good break. We had a lot of systems. We exhausted the alphabet, and now we have some quiet times in the Gulf, so in the Atlantic Ocean, as far as hurricane development. So that's good news. Now, I don't really partake in usually naming winter storms. I get it to measure impact, mainly to measure impact, and sometimes storms are memorable in a lot of ways, good and bad. And like we see in the hurricane season, we have Hurricane Katrina. Katrina has now been retired. It was retired as a name. It was a name that we will never revisit again due to its impact. That name will never be revisited again. And so for some other names too that will never be revisited again on the list. They were just retired and replaced with another K letter or another letter name to another name to replace that alphabet. So I think the same approach was for the winter storms. We want to measure the impact. And sometimes people attach a name. Attach a name to something. But remember, we discussed, we're going over in class, the named versus the named. So here you have something that a system, instead of just saying a winter storm, we're going to call it Gale. We're going to measure its impact, etc., etc. So I don't want to spend too much time on the naming system. I do want to get into the other dynamics as well. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Khadija, my sister. Thank you for tuning in. We hope she says not much snow. Well, that's everyone's hope. For those who do not like snow and don't care for it too much, that's their hope and prayer. If you are tuning in, thank you again. Please drop your location where you tuned in from. Share the live stream, and also ask any questions that you may have throughout this conversation that we'll be having this evening. Let us make it as interactive as possible. All right, so we get into the naming system. Let us now just pull up some maps here and go over some information, new information that has been provided and that has been received. Let's see here. Let's start here. We could start here. Yes, this is I think this is the European model. Yes, this is the European model from earlier today. There were several models that come out. These models come out several hours apart. So you have the late night, the 2 a.m. model that comes out. Then you have the more early morning model that comes, I think, around 8 or so, between 8 and 10 o'clock. Then you have the midday model, and then you have the evening run, the late evening run before the dawn hours come back into play. So I had a chance to look at the models as it pertains to what is it said today. It's key to also get models are good for guidance, not per se forecasting, but it's good to see a trend. Trend is sometimes your friend in a lot of these matters as it relates to these models. If it's trending, and if we see a trend that both models, like the European, which we're looking at right now, and the GFS model, which is the American model, we get to see that these models are, again, data that's inputted through the various satellites, through the various testing, through the various weather stations, all of this data gets inputted to these computers, and they usually plot out a lot of different scenarios. So we're looking at actually, I'm going to correct myself, but we're looking at is the short range model, which is called the NAM. This is the short range model. There's a series of short range models that we usually look at too as we get closer within range. So now we're in range, we're 24, 36, 48 hours away. We're in that time period where the short range models actually becoming handy now because they're good in measuring out the short range when we start getting the short range of the forecast. The European is good. European model is good for usually to project possibly a little bit longer ways out, 5 days, maybe a week out, that time frame. The GFS almost the same way. The American model, the GFS model is almost the same way. So when it starts to get closer, we usually want to look at some of the short range, and sometimes the short range models can be wacky too, and sometimes we have to throw them out. You have to throw out some models sometimes because they are the outlier models, and sometimes when we have a general consensus of a majority of models, we throw away or we discard the outlier models that are just completely just wacky. So I want to draw your attention to the short range model. What we're looking at on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you see the center low pressure system is right over the Atlantic Ocean. And then at the very top of your screen, you see like a little blue high, a little blue H. That's the high pressure system sitting right in the sweet spot in that part of Canada. That is what's going to drive the cold air downward from Canada. That's a key component here. If we don't have this high pressure in this particular position, we will not be having this discussion about the system even being snow. So, one, we need cold air supply. Right now, it's relatively cool. We haven't had a really cold outbreak so far this month of December, and we're midway through the month, so we still have some days to go. So we haven't had a cold spell. And tomorrow, going into Wednesday and Thursday, our temperatures will be relatively cool enough to support snow. They won't be cold. It won't be. We ain't talking about the 20s and teens and below zero. We're talking about temperatures in the mid to lower 30s. That's it. But that's good enough in a lot of ways to support support snow and to support the moisture that's coming in to be majority of snow for some people. Okay. So it's important that what we have to understand is the positioning of that high pressure in Canada, which you see on the top, very top, almost the very top of your screen with that little H. It says 1030 millibars, sitting in a nice spot, right? Low pressure sitting at what we call the benchmark. Down your bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you see a low pressure system, a little low, little L, little red L, that is at a nice benchmark. And the benchmark is key here, that key positioning to whereas it's not too far away and it's not too close to the coast. So you're at the midway latitude right now. The storm system will be sitting at a mid latitude, good enough to support snow all the way to the coast or to these coastal areas. There is still some uncertainty as it relates to some cities and along the coast. But what is for certain is that there will be cold enough air to support snow in a lot of other areas. Wind is also going to be something to behold for this time period. We're going to discuss that too. That we could see winds up to 40 to 50 miles per hour, especially along the coast. 40 to 50 miles per hour winds. Combined with that, with blowing snow and heavy snow falling at rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. When we get into those heavy snow bands, with those snow bands set up, and you have the winds coupled with that, it's going to create what they call blowing and drifting snow, and it will create what we call whiteout conditions. And in whiteout conditions, we don't. It's not advised to drive at all. Driving is not advised. Totally discouraged. And this system will bring those elements to us right to our doorstep. So we want to be careful. Driving, I don't advise driving in this weather from Wednesday night into Thursday morning It's going to be treacherous. Some will be starting Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday morning. But as we look at the time frame, we're going to see that. But I will not advise any driving of the sort in heavy snow or wind. It's just now a no-go situation. No good. It's not safe. Won't advise. Zero visibility. You won't be able to see between you and the car ahead of you. It is to be completely white. We have here, this is one of the other maps here, precipitation map that measures snow by the inches. To the right-hand side of your screen, all the way to the right, you'll see from 1 inch, which is the very bottom, trace to 1 inch, which is like a grayish color. And as the snow increases, the color scale changes from light blues to dark blues to purples to pinks, the light pinks, and all the way up to like 72 inches of snow, which is measured. Now we're measuring feet. Now, right? Once we get above 12 inches, which is 1 foot, then we start measuring in feet. All right. So I just want to point that out to everyone. So this is a 72-hour snowfall forecast, and this is from the National Weather Service, actually. And if we can zoom in here, can we zoom in? Is there a way that we can zoom in a little bit so people can see? No? Okay. Now, if everyone can see closely, I want to draw everyone's attention to central PA, just north and west of DC and Baltimore, that northern portion of the state of Maryland, and then that northern portion of the state of Virginia, all the way up to north central New Jersey, Hudson Valley, New York City, Parcel Island, especially Nassau County, maybe a little Suffolk County, then getting to Connecticut, and then getting to Massachusetts. And then points northward in the lighter blues, in the darker blues, that's the cutoff. In those areas, that's north of Boston. We're talking about southern New Hampshire, southern Vermont. Those areas get less snow because they're in the sharp cutoff positioning. And due to the track of the low, those heavy snow rate, or those heavy snow accumulations, will make it to this region if the scenario plays out to be as such, right? Okay, if you're in the dark pinks and reds, or yeah, they're all dark pinks, really. If you're in the dark pinks right now, this is what we're looking like. If you're living in, again, Allentown, York, Harrisburg, all the way to Bergen County, Essex County, Passaic, Newark, Jersey City, into New York City, this is a general swap of a foot of snow, generally speaking, at least a foot, right? You see some numbers in there. Some could get locally 15 inches. I see in there. I see also in that lighter pink color in and around the border between Maryland and PA, 18 to maybe 20 inches of snow. Somebody's going to get 2 feet out of this. If, in fact, this plays out, somebody was going to get 2 feet. Especially, I would think that bullseye, again, this all depends on when the heavy snow band's set up. But generally, a foot is general. This is what I'm going with. A foot is general right now. Is the general probability of seeing a foot of snow, central, eastern PA, northern Maryland, northern Virginia, northern New Jersey, New York City and the 5 boroughs included in the Hudson Valley, and also Nassau County, and maybe some of Suffolk, but definitely New York City, 5 boroughs, up into southern Connecticut, and then getting into Boston, Massachusetts, a general swath of at least 10 to 15 inches of snow, at least. And in fact, most of these areas that I just named, these cities, New York City, Boston, is already under winter storm watches already, all the way up into Connecticut and then up to Massachusetts. Philly and DC is questionable. Southern New Jersey, Philadelphia, into southern New Jersey and into DC and Baltimore is questionable. And here's why. Again, positioning. Remember we talked about positioning of that low pressure system. If the low tracks too 10 miles to the east, 10 miles to the west makes a huge difference in what we're seeing right now. It will make a huge difference in terms of where the shock cutoff is, in terms of how much snow you will get, how much mixing you will get. That's the concern. How much mixing will you receive in terms of rain, plain rain, sleet, and or freezing rain? Okay? That's the mystery part. Philadelphia is of concern because your air temperature is not going to be as cold. It's going to be hovering in that 35, 36 degree range. And that's not all the way conducive for all snow. And it's literally the city has been cut in half. So from the city on south, from the city southward, barely nothing, maybe 1 to 3 inches. But if we start talking about from Philadelphia on northwestward, if we look at this map, from Philadelphia on northwestward into the suburbs, when we get into Westchester, Chester County, and the counties over Bucks and all those other counties over, that's when you're talking about a foot. So the difference is miles. That's what I'm trying to explain to you, everyone listening. The difference is miles, literally. Now, in the same case for DC and Baltimore, the same applies. That air temperature is still hovering around that 35, 36, 37 degree range when the precipitation is arriving. So we get the sleet, you get the freezing rain, you get the ice in here. It's going to hold back the accumulation of snow. Now, we all should generally finish as snow, everybody. But how and when that happens, and are those snow bands set up in those regions so they can make up for the fact that they didn't get a lot of snow in the beginning of the precipitation? It's the key. So for DC and Baltimore, if you look closely on this map, if you look very closely, again, south of DC, you barely get nothing. DC itself, a couple inches. North of DC and Baltimore, when you get further into the state of Maryland, just by, again, miles, a foot of snow. This is a storm of miles, and this is what makes the forecasting science very interesting. As we move closer and closer, then these things will start to make a little more sense. But for right now, DC and Baltimore and Philadelphia, you're on the cusp of getting just maybe a couple of inches to getting a lot more than a couple of inches. New York City or Boston, we're the exception to the rule, because in New York City, we're talking now air temperatures in the beginning and throughout the duration of the storm, generally going to be hovering between 32 and 30 degrees. In fact, the temperature will drop 2 degrees to 30 degrees. So we're not really worried about mixing in the 5 boroughs. I'm more so concerned for Nassau and particularly Suffolk County out to the Hamptons. How much influence will we see from the Atlantic Ocean, which is warm now? The Atlantic Ocean is warm during this time of the year. It's still cooling down, but it's still relatively warm. How much of that influence will we get? And that's going to cut down your accumulations dramatically in Suffolk County and the Hamptons, where you get that mixing of rain over there, and maybe eventually change to all rain in those areas. So we have to be mindful of that in Suffolk County. So again, but if you drive eastward into Nassau County, where is that dark pink out of Queens, Nassau County, generally, again, you will see maybe a few more inches than you would see over in Suffolk. Again, miles. We're talking miles in distance here. All right. The next thing I want to bring up is this one map here, and this will give us again we zoomed in a little bit better so everyone can see what's going on here. Now we can see clearly what I was just demonstrating, a matter of miles. South Jersey, let me say Atlantic City, you're not getting hardly anything. Maybe according to an inch, maybe 2 if most. More concerned for Jersey, coastal Jersey. My concern is 1 to 2 feet of storm surge, coastal flooding, storm surge and coastal flooding along that Jersey shore. Could do some beach erosion, some battering on the coastline. That's the concern because you got 40, 50 mile per hour winds from a storm system that's going to push the water up towards the sand and up the beach. So that's the concern for Jersey. Too warm, too close to the center of circulation. So you have more of Atlantic Ocean influence in Atlantic City and South Jersey. Philadelphia, again, on the cusp. Like that several inches mark, just north of that, you're getting into 8 to 12 to 12 to 18 inches. You see York, Lancaster, generally a foot, generally. Harrisburg may get 18 inches, darker red color. That's only indicating that there's a possibility. Again, that heavy band sits right over Harrisburg. And talk about heavy banding for hours, just dumping a lot of snow. This is a fast-moving storm system. So a lot of these areas are going to start Wednesday morning, go through Wednesday afternoon, and eventually Wednesday evening. And then this storm system will be over by Thursday morning. All this precipitation will be out of here. Fast-moving. There is a couple of other things that I would like us to look at here. Hold on 1 second. Can we pull up the GFS model? Pull up the link. Let's pull that guy up on the background. All right, here is the GFS model. Okay, so where are we? Today we're at Tuesday the 15th. So let's start moving it up some. Let's start playing it, moving the bar up some. That's the first storm system. What you're seeing right here, before we move it, what you're seeing right here is the first storm system that affected us today, with some rain. There was some snow, some places in the in some places in PA, some places in North Jersey. They got a little dusting of inch or something, but no big deal. That's the precursor. That storm is out of here. Tomorrow, behind it, clear weather, sunny weather for majority of the country. Press play, and you're going to see the difference in time. Wa alaikum assalam, Sister Ruby. Thank you for tuning in. So we can press play on this, and we're going to stop it. Okay, let's stop right here. Let's scroll it down. This is our storm system. Let's scroll the screen down a little bit. Our storm system is sitting right here. Oklahoma, Texas. This is the beginning of the system that we're going to have a problem with. This is the beginning stages. I just want to point this out. There'll be several inches of snow here in Oklahoma. Surprisingly, it's going to be cold in Oklahoma City. Get ready. Kansas, also Topeka. Get ready. You'll see a couple inches from that. Now, the southern region, you see all this moisture starting to be pulled up from the Gulf of Mexico. That's all going to be rain for the south, and you'll see why. Press play. Let's press play a little bit. Let's move it up. Yeah, move the bar up a little bit. So as we move the bar up some. Okay, pause. Okay, here it is. So we pause it at a good spot. System has moved from the Texas, Oklahoma region, and now has arrived off the Cape Hatteras, off the Carolinas, basically, right? Behind it, up ahead of it, rain, thunderstorms. That's Atlanta, Birmingham, and this is we're looking at this. Can we scroll up? The date is on this. I think this is Wednesday morning. This is Wednesday morning. Yes, Wednesday morning. So it'll be raining in Birmingham, raining in Texas, raining in Tennessee. I want us to zoom in to that pink spot in Virginia. I want us to zoom in on that pink spot, that dark pink color. I want us to zoom into that particular region. There we go. Stop right there. That's good. All right. Remember yesterday we had a very deep discussion about that cold air. Remember I told you, we said earlier a few minutes before about that high pressure that sits right above Canada right now. It is shifting itself over to that specific part in Canada, just north of Niagara Falls, just north of the border of New York and Canada. So it sits there in a good spot. So it's seeping cold air down, pulling cold air down to New England, Northeast, Mid-Atlantic. We're looking at right now is the Mid-Atlantic ice storm. We're going to see a major ice event in this part of Virginia and North Carolina. And I'm going to want us to look at also while we're here. I want us to pull up. I'm going to pull up. I have to pull up that to let people know for the ice event. There will be an ice event. I have to pull up that site too, so we can pull that up here. While that's loading up, I'm just going to give the explanation to this storm system. This will be a major ice storm. So winter storm watches are in effect all across. So in fact, we're going to pull this one up too. In fact, we're going to take this down. We're going to take this down, and if the engineer can pull up the link, one of these other links here, we're going to pause this here, and we're going to look at another map. We're going to bring this map back. Right now, I need to pull up the other map. Yes. Right now, we're going to pull up the other map, then we're going to come back to that model, because I want to show you the layout of the winter storm watches that are already in effect and do some explaining of that, and then that will reflect on our list. Oh, perfect here. Okay, I want you to zoom in to the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic region. Very good. Okay. Nice. So all these little blue little boxes there that's covering those counties and cities and different things like that, those are all winter storm watches. We're going to click into one. So let's click into the one in Virginia. Let's click one into Virginia. Go lower, go right there. Okay, click that one. Let's just click this region. All right, we pulled up the Baltimore, D.C. one, which is fine. Yes, click that winter storm watch. No, go back up. Click this one right here. Yeah, click that. Yes, very good. Okay. Now, let's do some explaining here on this language. So we have the list of counties. There's a list of the counties: Baltimore County, Carroll, Frederick, Allegheny, all those counties, and then it explains the who, what, when, where, and why. All right. So there's a winter storm watch for this region. All those counties listed, all under the watch from Wednesday morning to Wednesday night. That's the time period for the DMV area. This is the time period that you can expect the snow and ice. Heavy snow possible. Total snow greater than 8 inches possible. But where? Portions, remember I told you, portions of central, north central, northern, and western Maryland. We saw that on the map. Also central, northern, northwest, and western Virginia. And eastern and panhandle of West Virginia. That's key. And this time, from Wednesday morning through late Wednesday night, snow will most likely overspread the area later Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon. The heaviest of snow is expected and likely to happen Wednesday afternoon through Wednesday evening. Impacts, travel, difficult, very difficult. Significant travel delays and closures, road closures, flight delays. No one should be flying, but I don't advise. Plan ahead, minimize impact on your day and your family. Let's pull out of this. Let's go back. Let's go back to the map of America, the whole lower 48. Let's go back there. Let's go back there. Okay, let's click into New York City, the New York City region. That's the counties, man. That's Albany. That's Albany, man. That's the state capital. New York City, the thing that sticks out. Yeah, the fork, south. Move the cursor south. There you go. Click that. There we go. Very good. All right, this is New York City. This is New York City under a winter storm watch. That includes, let's just click into it. Very good. All right, he clicked into Poughkeepsie. This is the Lower Hudson Valley. Poughkeepsie, Dutchess counties, Terryville, all those White Plains, all those beautiful places up there. Kingston, New Paltz. They got some nice houses along the Hudson River, by the way, up there. So there's a winter storm watch in effect. Generally, this covers not just the Hudson, but even when you start talking about New York City and Connecticut, it's the same time frame, basically, roughly. Winter storm watch in effect from Wednesday afternoon through Thursday afternoon. Let's scroll down. Let's go down just a little bit. And for what we're expecting is heavy snow possible. Snowfall totals in excess an excess of 7 inches plus. Where? Litchfield County, Connecticut, Ulster and Dutchess counties in east central New York. Okay? But that's generally, again, that swap generally across the whole tri-state area, including the Hudson. From Wednesday afternoon through Thursday after we discussed that. I want to scroll down. It says additional details. Additional details. Can we get that? Yes. Highlight this. Additional details. Snowfall rates may exceed an inch per hour. Okay, just giving you some dalil on that. Let's now pull back. Let's go back to the other link for the GFS model. Let's go back. Wa alaikum wassalam, Sister Kimberly. Songstress. Great real-time info. Hashtag Maryland. Hashtag the DMV. Okay, here we are. GFS model. Okay, let's move it up some now. Let's move the bar up a little bit into the future. Okay, stop. Go back some. Go back some. Can we go back? Yeah, right there. Right there's good. Okay, let's zoom in and let's see what we're looking at. Now the storm system is made its way out from the Carolinas into Richmond, the Chesapeake. The Tidewater of Virginia. That's Hampton Roads, all those beautiful cities that are in that region. All rain, too warm. All that moisture is being drawn up to the Gulf of Mexico from the south, pulling out from the south. This is going to be pure rain. This is to be too mild for any type of snow. So sorry, my good folks in Hampton, Virginia, and the beautiful cities there. There's no snow for you guys from this. But I want us to really pay attention to the precip shield as the storm system makes its approach further north, and it interacts in that cold air. That rain changes to snow. Again, that West Virginia, that Northern Virginia, the Northern Maryland, all into central and eastern PA, and eventually getting to Jersey and New York City. So let's play it. Let's go play it. Let's press play slowly. And just move it up slowly. Move the bar slowly up for it. Slowly move it up. There we go. Pause right here. Now, okay. Now the center of the low is sitting literally south and east from Atlantic City and east of Delaware. Okay. The high pressure is to the north. All snow on the GFS. All snow. That is all of central and northern New Jersey, all of New York City, and the Hudson Valley. Again, there's a cutoff. It's going to be a sharp cutoff for central northern New York. It's going to be a cutoff above the Hudson Valley. It could potentially be a cutoff also again in New England. This is not your type of storm system for you guys. The center, if the low pressure was a little bit closer to the coast, there'd be more snow into Vermont and New Hampshire, further upstate New York and getting into Maine. It's not the storm system for that. This is a storm system I think is going to be for the major cities, especially along the coast and central eastern PA and Maryland, parts of Maryland and Virginia. So let's move the bar of the future forward. So this is Thursday morning, and by Thursday afternoon, going into the evening, the storm system has made its approach away, and that's it, done. So we will be left with dry weather for the weekend, cold but dry. Everyone will be digging out in that region, and then let's keep playing this GFS. We'll keep playing it. Let's see what's in the future. Keep playing the model. Dry weather, but we pay attention to what's happening in the south. What's that? The storm system develops, slides off the coast. Or it's time to come up. Oh, pause. Stop. This is Tuesday, December 22nd. Way far away. Don't worry about it too much. I just wanted to pause it here because is taking almost the same trajectory. It's coming from that Gulf of Mexico. It's coming from the Gulf of Mexico. It's rich in moisture. That's number one. Number two, it's rich in a lot of moisture. And if this plays out, obviously this is too far in the future, and we're not going to harp on it too much. But if there's any cold air left, if there's any cold air in place, and the low is sitting in this position, could mean another snow event for the same region and the same areas again. Again, it's far away, but the pattern does suggest that this could be an active weather pattern for us in the Northeast Mid-Atlantic region. Now, Central Plains, the Midwest, West Coast, with the exception of our friends in Seattle, Washington, and Oregon, Portland, Oregon, you guys will be getting rain and mountain snow in the higher elevations. Good for skiing. But for the large portion of the United States, it's going to be very quiet. Okay? It's going to be very quiet. I also wanted to talk about briefly with you all tonight, and potentially we'll have tomorrow. We'll have more of a discussion about it. The title of this program tonight is "Snowstorm in a Pandemic," and as we know, we are still stuck in a pandemic. We're still struggling to get out of a pandemic. People are still sick. People are getting sick, and the vaccination has arrived. Right? But I really want to focus on that per se. I want to focus on how can we make it out of a snowstorm and a pandemic at the same time. Most of us who have been blessed to keep a job and maintain a job. A lot of us are working remotely. Those who are blessed to work remotely and those who are blessed to have a job at this point, all working remotely. For those who are essential workers, frontline workers, the doctors, the nurses, the bus drivers, etc., those individuals have to go outside. They just have to. And it's a lot of stress on them. And definitely going to be a lot of stress put on to travel in this type of weather to get to work. I know my friend is a nurse. His father is a nurse. And there's been times when, before pre-COVID, that he had to sleep at the job, sleep over in the hospital because the weather just didn't allow him to travel from Brooklyn back to Queens. Two boroughs, but travel is treacherous. So you had to sleep over. We haven't seen in this region a nor'easter or a snowstorm of this potential magnitude in 2 years. Last year, we barely got anything in Philadelphia. We barely got anything in D.C., Baltimore, New York City. I'm talking about if a few inches of anything. It was a very quiet, very not fun and not entertaining, at least for people like myself and others who we find joy in doing these type of discussions. We didn't really have that. Now, if you dial it back to 2018, we had 4 snowstorms in March. Who remembers that? Raise your hand or say something in the comments. If you remember, in March of 2018, winter seemed like it never stopped. It kept going. We had 4 snowstorms from the beginning, the middle, and to the end of March. Who remembers that? Nobody remembers that? 4 snowstorms or 4 winter systems to affect the same region, the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, New England, took place 2018. We have not seen an active pattern or accumulating snow event since then, really. So it's been a solid 2 years of no snow drought. Now, with this storm system, we're going to make up big time for what we received all of last year with this storm. Dan says, yes, and we lost some wonderful trees and bushes because of those 4 late winter, early spring snowstorms in March. So now we have a difference. Right in the winter, Dan says it was a real bummer to shovel those 4 storms. Absolutely, because everyone expected winter to be over once you get to March. Not all true, but generally. I also want us to draw attention to what's going on in the West Coast. I don't have a map for that, but the West Coast is on fire, literally, especially California. The millions of acres that have burnt in California that's continuing to burn as we speak in the West Coast. We're talking about two extremes here. We're talking about an extreme of coming through a pandemic, a snowstorm in a pandemic, and on the West Coast, we're going through a phase where we did not receive a lot of water and a lot of snow in the winter to fill up those reservoirs and to fill up those rivers. Now they're dry to a point where they have to regulate the water, how much water you can use. That's how bad it's got it in the West Coast. There we are. Thanks to the shout out to the engineer. These are all of the active wildfires. I mean, it's too many to click on, but this is just a good illustration of how dry. And if an engineer can bring up the U.S. drought monitor, if you can bring that up too, that would be beneficial. But these are the all active wildfires in the West Coast. All the state of California is literally on fire. Small fires. Not all these fires are large, by the way. Some of them are small, some of them are medium sized, some of them are large, but they're measured by how many acres they're burning. That's how big a fire can be. It could be it could be thousands and millions of acres burnt. If we could bring up the drought monitor, the U.S. drought monitor, that'd be great. Because then we can correlate that. Ah, perfect. Look at this. Look at this, man. Look at that. Come on, let's zoom into more to the West Coast. We can zoom in to the West Coast. Look at that. That's the Four Corners. Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, Nevada, the state of California, even up to Washington State, Wyoming, all experiencing either moderate to extreme drought. Severe. The darker reds is severe drought. Now, all you need is take a cigarette and you throw it on a bush or on a tree, on one of those dry leaves. It's going to go. It's going to blow up, flame, because it's so dry. And so we really want to talk to us about how are we making out? How we really going to find out how are people making out with a drought, wildfires in a pandemic? How are people faring? What are you guys going through? These are some of the things that we want to connect the science also with our health, our mental health. How does the feeling? We don't see here in this region. We don't necessarily know the feeling of seeing our water having our water regulated, telling instructions coming from someone telling us, oh, you can't use this water. You can't water your garden with this at all. You can't water your garden at all. Or you can water your garden, but just very little. How does that feel? Like it just I don't know. I can't speak, so I don't know how it feels. So I'm saying this experience right here. In some cultures, some religions, some practice of spirituality, there's people who pray for rain. They pray for relief. And some of the Native American rituals. This is some things that they do. These are some of the things that we have to be concerned about. As far as our climate justice and climate change, what's going on in our environment? How are we playing a role in our environment changing for the better or for the worse? For some cases, it's for the worse. Some cases for the worse. Some cases for the better. But we had so many regulations deregulated by this government. This 4 years have been very devastating to the environment. There was a lot of rollbacks for a lot of protections for water supply, air, clean air, you name it. Was just deregulated. Dan asks, can you talk about cloud seeding? Wow. Are you asking me, do I believe in cloud seeding? Do I believe it's true? Do I believe it's going on? We're gonna give the definition of cloud seeding. I have it right here. Or if the engineer can pull up the definition of cloud seeding, so we can all enjoy this reading. Can we pull up the definition of cloud seeding? So we're gonna pull up the definition of cloud seeding, and we're going to have a brief discussion on that, and then we will end. And if any unless you have any other questions, let's see. Oh, cloud seeding. What is it? How does it work? And does it make a difference? Okay. Okay. Basically, okay, so I'll explain it this way. So you see an airplane, there's an airplane in the air. There is these particles that's being released. This is what they call silver iodide. It's a chemical. It's released by a plane or a ground-based generator, right? So you have a generator, or you can have an airplane release it. The silver iodide particles reaches the targeted cloud. So with these particles aids basically in the formation of those ice crystals. Remember, last night, we talked about ice. We talked about how snow is formed, how hail is formed, sleet, freezing, rain. All come from the clouds, and the clouds are all made up of water/ice. So the silver iodide is supposed to aid in the formation of more ice crystals. And those ice crystals begin to become large enough to fall and create snow. As the ice forms in the top layers of the very top layers of the cloud, the very top, and it trickles down, becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, then you create more snow, or you create ice, or you create rain from it. Now they say cloud seeding, humans interfering with Mother Nature to bring us more of the good stuff. It sounds too good to be true, but studies point to a snowfall increase of 3 to 10% during an entire season, and a Summit Daily News news article that lists 10% as an average increase, reports meteorologist and reporter Joel Kratz of OpenSnow.com. The concept of cloud seeding has been around since the 1940s. This is nothing new, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing new. When Bernard von Gott discovered that silver iodide could produce ice crystals, were introduced into cloud chambers. In those days, cloud seeding was heralded as a way to produce rain where there was none, boosting crop yields and filling reservoirs to the brim. But in the mountains, where the economy relies on snowfall, case in point, the West Coast, these same methods can be used to get an edge over rival resorts. There's more. That's the plane that's spraying the iodide particles. Cloud seeding is the most commonly done out of airplanes. You break down some of the protocol that you encourage giving consumption. Okay, there's a question for Kimberly Songstress that we'll bring up too, real quick. Kimberly Songstress says, before you go, as you break down some of the brutal cold temperatures, could you encourage giving to communities and homeless shelters, any organizations that are giving out coats, blankets, etc.? Shukran. Yes. In fact, I have one right now. Hold on 1 second. We're going to bring this brother up right here. I'll send it to. The engineer's going to bring him up, and I'm going to pull this up, and we're going to. Yes, Khadija, they are starting the Coach Drive. Hold on. Give me 1 second, because there is Coach Drives that are going on now as we speak. There we go. Just Cause Foundation, my brother and friend, and brother Antoine Wallace from Lincoln University graduate, is doing the Winter Essentials Christmas Eve Drive. Donating winter. They're collecting. It's collecting winter essential bags. If we can. Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Winter bags, including socks, hats, scarves, coats, and feminine products. This is December 24th. This is going down in downtown Manhattan. There will be a downtown Manhattan distribution, Brooklyn, Queens, Midtown, but also this is happening in Philadelphia. Yes, Salinas, California. That's 12/12. That has passed. In fact, they had a successful one in Salinas. They did. And Philly and New York City is coming up 12/24. If you would like to contact or make a donation, if you live in New York City and Philadelphia, this is coming to you 12/24. Donations can be made to the Just Cause Foundation via Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. You can contact Dominique West or Xavier Lawrence. The phone numbers is there, or you can email Wallace at that email, awallace at thejustcausefoundation.org. And thank you, Kimberly Singstress. Yes, inshallah, people that watch later can share this. We will share this flyer. I will share this flyer. We will share this flyer on our platforms, and we will share other flyers on our platforms as well, because there's several going on. This is not just the only one, but this is one that's covering Philly and New York City on 12/24. If you are giving clothes away, please, or any of the hats, scarves, those essentials, socks, hats, scarves, coats, please make sure that they are given as clean as you can get them. Wash them first, do what you need to do, and then donate them, please. Because of COVID, we want to make sure they're washed and then given, given and donated. Someone will pick them up, or there'll be donation boxes that will be set up in Philadelphia and New York City. Can we go back to the cloud seeding? I just want to finish that cloud seeding information before we sign off for the evening. Yes. Planes fly into selected cloud formations and releases packets of microscopic silver iodide particles using flares. When the particles meet cool moisture in the clouds, they trigger the formation of ice crystals and raindrops. The amount of silver iodide that is used is small enough to make sure that it doesn't pose a pollution risk. And it's important to plan things well. Since clouds don't produce rain until 20 or 30 minutes after they have been seeded, one needs to make sure they deliver at the right place. Most research has estimated on average you can get a precipitation increase of around 10%. With some storms, you can get up to 25%. And other storms, you get 0. This doesn't sound like much. An extra inch during a 10-inch storm, but over the course of a season, that can add up to several extra feet. And at the relatively cheap cost of $250,000 per winter. It seems like a no-brainer. But not every cloud can be seeded, and the process is as much art as science. The ideal targets are warm clouds where there's plenty of liquid water floating around at freezing temperatures that don't have any particles to latch onto. On a cold day on the ski slopes, when a cloud is hovering on the mountain, you can see evidence of this in ice that forms on objects. And this is from an atmospheric scientist, Frank McDonough, who says if you go up to the top of a basin after a storm, you should see white ice that has grown on the lift towers and in trees. What's happening there is the water drops are floating around the cloud, and as soon as they hit a structure, that structure serves as a spot for a freezing event. With cloud seeding, what you're doing is throwing some dust up in the cloud and creating the freezing in the cloud. Okay, so this cloud seeding method has actually been around since the 1940s, but also I believe this has also been used as a military. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. A military it's been used as a military engagement as well. A military experiment. HARP. Have we forgotten about HARP? The HARP program, which is a military program, which uses this type of method, cloud seeding. We're not gonna get into all of that, but I think that's another conversation. on cloud seeding and the HARP program, and how that program can be used, or it's actually that program, the HARP program is still in existence, if I'm not mistaken. It's still an active program here in the States. But I'm surprised if other countries have have a similar program in those countries as well. Again, that's research for another time and discussion for another time. But I hope that this reading and this explanation is can suffice the readership or the viewership, and we'll have another conversation about cloud seeding and its benefits, its pros, its cons. Can man produce rain? That's the question. We know that the Creator produces rain, but then now man is trying to say that he can produce snow, which is basically rain, ice. He could produce that by using silver iodide. So it's interesting, interjecting the cloud like you would interject, like you basically interject a needle into someone's arm. Basically, that's what they're doing. They're just interjecting into a cloud particles via either a generator or a plane. So it's interesting. It's an interesting phenomenon, and it requires a little more research and a little more study. But definitely, I think that is something to look at. And does anyone else have any questions? Oh, yeah, that's a full article. Apparently there's some more after that, but we can get into that another time. Does anyone else have any questions? No problem, Dan. Appreciate you. Definitely appreciate you tuning in as always. As always. Anyone else? Who's viewing? Who's still here? Who's still here? Feel free to drop your places of location. Okay. On Wednesday we'll be back. We'll be back live and direct here. We'll be back live and direct here on Wednesday. Again, Wednesday evening, probably around the same time. Oh no, wait, tomorrow's Tuesday. Oh, excuse me. Hey, we'll be back on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll do Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday for a final analysis, more analysis as tying of the loose ends, as we like to say. We'll tie up the loose ends overnight tonight into Tuesday. Come back tomorrow. We'll have a final tie-in. We'll try to tie this thing up. And then Wednesday, we'll be here again, probably Wednesday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, to do more in-depth discussion. And now we'll start pulling up radars, nowcasting. The storm system will be in play. We'll get to see it on radar. Most of the people tuning in will probably have snow on the ground already, or is at least snowing in your region. So we'll do some nowcasting. And then overnight into Wednesday to figure that, to see what happens. On Thursday, we'll be digging out. We'll be digging out of the snow. So definitely take it easy out there. I do have some advice. Definitely be careful. We'll be very careful shoveling snow. This is going to be a very wet snow. It's going to contain a lot of water. So it's going to be very hard to shovel. If you have a snowblower, that would be great. If you are going to be shoveling and you are elderly person and you have pre-existing conditions, I wouldn't advise it. Would try to get a younger person to come out to do that. I know back in the days we used to do that. I'm not sure how popular it is no more that the young people get out to shovel the elderly's houses and cars and things of that nature. But definitely I wouldn't advise. You can get a heart attack. If you are shoveling and you're not hydrated and you're not bending by the knees, if you don't have the correct posture, and you're not hydrated, you can get a heart attack. People have fallen out. And got heart attacks, young and old, but especially the old. Those who have pre-existing conditions, I wouldn't advise. But if you have to shovel, I think that you definitely need to get a young person in town. He said, I went and got myself a battery. Dan said, he got himself a battery powered snowblower, and this would be his first big test with that. Yes, definitely. Oh, power outages. That can happen. Forgot to mention that. And that may happen. Um, and we'll discuss that tomorrow. But if you are getting if you are in an area that the power does go out, you need to have some of the essentials. Cash, cash on hand. You need to have all your prescriptions, medication filled. All your prescription medication should be filled. Definitely beforehand. If you haven't done it already, please find a way to do so. Cash. Make sure you have water. X amount of water to last you 3-5 days, just in case. Maybe a week, but definitely 5 days minimum. A week, a week, a week more. Excuse me. Water, not perishable items that's not going to spoil. Peanut butter and jelly, bread, things of that nature. Make sure you have your pets. Make sure your pets. You have your pets' food. And different things of that nature. Make sure they stay hydrated. You can dehydrate in the wintertime. People have done. People do. People we think that we have enough water in our bodies in the winter. We don't. So you have to drink actually more water so you can keep your body hydrated even in the winter, so you won't become dehydrated. So please make sure you drink enough water. Have flashlights. Flashlights are important. No candles, or if you have a candle, be careful of the use of candles because candles can cause fires. So be careful with candle, but make sure you have flashlights at least. Flashlights, as it definitely needed, with batteries. Make sure you change the batteries and have fresh batteries on standby. Um, if you have a backup generator, that's cool. If you own a house, you have a backup generator. Monitor your generators, especially the ones that are gas. Be careful, ones with gas. Those can cause problems. So be careful. Be careful your backup generator. If if you have gas, water. I forget. Oh, weather radios. Power goes out. You don't have access to television. Don't have access to certain things. Maybe your landline phone you have a landline phone. You want to have access to that. Charge your cell phone. Charge your iPads, devices, Androids, whatever you have. Charge them in advance. Tuesday, but especially Tuesday night. Start charging Tuesday night. Have your phones on full battery life. If you haven't got a weather radio, I suggest that people do get a weather radio because they're perfect when power goes out. You get to hear specifically updates as they come on the weather radio, and you can get them on Amazon.com. There's some that range from different prices, $20-$30 or so, if I believe, maybe $40 for some a little more high level. But weather radios are good. Weather radios are good to have just to have in your kit. Your first aid kits, you need to have those prepared. If you have to restock on certain items, make sure you restock on those first aid kit items. Your band-aids, your alcohol pads, etc., etc. Make sure you have your first aid kit just in case. Always good to have those in the house anyway. If you haven't had one, get a nice small one and have it on the ready just in case you need them. But those are some tips to sustain yourself if power goes out, because power goes out, sometimes it's hard for the power crews to get to. We know that some states have good energy companies. I'm not gonna mention no names, and some people have not so good power companies that don't respond right away, especially in African American neighborhoods or minority neighborhoods. But that's another story. But definitely, you want to be prepared for as much as you can. I wonder if Noah has an app and on the cell phone that broadcasts the weather radio. I I'm not too sure, Dan. I'll have to follow up on that one to see if they do have an app for that on your cell phone. I'll let everyone know if that's the case, and then I'll post it as well in the comments section. But anyway, that wraps up for me. Thank you all again for tuning in. I appreciate everybody. Again, be safe. Have a great night. Have a blessed Tuesday. If you need to go out to the store, make sure you make your store runs. Get your things, get your supplies, and get ready. We'll be back Tuesday night to tie up some loose ends and have some more discussion and answer some more questions from you all. And then we'll see how everything goes overnight tonight into Tuesday. All right, everyone, take care, and I'll see you on the flip side. Peace and blessings. And to my Muslim friends and family, assalamu alaikum.